people need to send me pictures of graphs and stuff.
Okay.
Hold on a second. Okay. This is the email that I want you to send me anything that we need to bring up on my screen. In other words, you're looking at my screen right now. If you want to send me an email, take a picture of it with your phone and send it to this email address, and then I will bring it up on my screen and we will both be looking at it. And then we can talk about it and solve problems. But that's the email that gets to me the most direct.
Okay, yeah, I think I was emailing you on that one.
Okay. There is another email I use for digital math tutor that gets forwarded to this one and sometimes can take a minute or two longer. So this is the one I make sure everybody has. Is the stuff you wanted, would you like to go over stuff today that is, I assume it's going to be about geometry. Do you need to send me pictures, or is it stuff you can verbalize? Sometimes you can verbalize it.
I'll just get my math book out and then.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm getting my math book out.
Oh,
so
your math book, okay.
Some of the problems.
Yeah, geometry is about the only subject, along with maybe calculus, where usually it's visually based, it's graphically based. So,
yeah.
You generally need to send me pictures. I don't generally start off by putting my email address up there, but with geometry students, I do.
Okay.
And the best way to do it is just to maybe go to the page that has all the problems on it that you want to do. Take a picture of it. Share that picture with me. Next thing you know, we'll both be looking at it.
Okay.
If you have an iPhone, do you have an iPhone?
Yeah, my camera.
Make sure you attach the picture as a large image attachment.
Sorry, taking a picture.
Yeah, either large image or actual size, but not small image. Small image ends up being too little resolution. We can't read it by the time I open it up.
Yeah.
What, are you a sophomore or?
I'm a freshman.
Freshman? Okay.
Yeah.
Freshman taking honors geometry. You must be pretty good in math.
Well, geometry's a lot different than, like, algebra.
It is, for sure.
It's more verbalizing, like, what you're doing.
Well, they start you off in geometry with proofs.
Yes.
Particularly honors geometry. And proofs are the toughest part of geometry. So the very initial part ends up being the toughest part. It's amazing how many different types of math are like that. But, and I'm not quite sure why, but that's the way geometry tends to be.
Okay.
Are you trying to take a picture and send it to me?
Yeah, my phone isn't working, so I think I might have to borrow, like, my sister's.
Okay.
One second.
Sure, no problem.
Yes, ma'am. Where's your phone? I need it. Okay.
If you hold the camera maybe 12 inches above the page and take a picture in good light, that's generally all that you need to do.
Okay, I'll try these pictures.
Okay. Do one at a time. Send me just one picture first. If you send me a bunch, it takes like 5 minutes for them to get me.
Okay.
But if you send one, we can start working on that problem and then go to the next one.
Okay.
And tell me whenever your phone says file sent. Gotta say file sent.
Okay, I think it's sent.
Okay, let me check my email, my Gmail, I should say. Yeah, looks like I got your file here. Or did I? Probably came from a different phone than yours, huh?
Yeah, it's my mom's.
Yeah, okay, now I got it. From Erin, your sister. Okay.
Yeah.
Which page would you like to start on? This one on the left or the one on the right?
The one on the right is problem 1, so
The one on the right, I think, is just a attached file. Yeah, that doesn't.
never mind.
That doesn't have any information in it. But this one does.
Then.
Okay.
Okay.
This one we can look at. Okay, that should be good enough. Just barely. I can barely make out the
yeah, this is
picture. But that's fine. That's all I need to be able to do. Okay, let me have a look at this. Given that FH is equal to GI, so if I mark this up, FH is equal to GI. And the triangle, what does that say? FK?
J, I think. FKH. No, FKJ is isosceles.
FKJ is isosceles. FKJ. Okay, so the whole triangle is isosceles, so that's equal to that.
Okay.
And prove that FKH is congruent to JKG. So what they want is FKH is congruent to that one right there.
So it's overlapping triangles.
What's that?
It's overlapping triangles.
Yeah. And they want a 2-column proof or a paragraph proof? Or
2-column.
2-column proof. Okay. So let's start with statement and reason. Is that what?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the first thing we know is that FH is equal to G. Let me label these just so I know them. FGHJ.
J.
Okay, and this is K.
And the vertex is K.
Okay. So FH equals GJ given, and FK is equal to KJ.
Yep.
Also given by the fact that it's Actually, I suppose in a rigorous proof, I would need to say that they're isosceles as step 2, also given. Therefore, step 3, fk is equal to jk, because it's an isosceles triangle. Okay? So I really kind of left out a step there. Okay. Now, let's see. What do we need to do to prove those two triangles are congruent? Let's see. We know that FH equals FG plus GH, right?
Yeah.
And for the reason of what?
The addition property.
Addition property. And we know that GJ is equal to HJ plus GH. Also the addition property. Therefore, we know that FH is equal to GJ. What, substitution, I guess?
Yes.
Yeah, substitution property. Okay, and let's see. So we have we have that, which says Fk is equal to Kj. We have this, which says their bases are equal. So what do we need to prove congruency?
We need an angle or a side.
Okay, so we have two sides. And what do we know about isosceles triangles?
Two sides are equal.
What else? So we know that Fk is equal to Jk, but we also know something about the angles. In other words, that tells us that angle F is equal to angle J.
Yes.
Angle F equals angle J, property of isosceles triangles. Okay? Now, you have side angle side.
Yes.
In other words, the last statement will go right there. In other words, what you're trying to prove is congruent to that based on side angle side property of congruence. In other words, if I draw those two angles, and sometimes this is useful, if I draw those angles separately, or those triangles rather, I know that that side is equal to that side. I know that that side is equal to that side. And I just proved that that angle is equal to that angle because the property of congruent triangles. And now I have a side angle side there and a side angle side there. And that's all I need to prove congruency.
Okay.
So that should work, I think. I may have left something out, but it depends on how rigorous your teacher insists your proofs be.
Yeah. For homework, she's pretty easy, but for quizzes,
Okay. Okay.
really
So you
strict.
probably need a statement in here. If for a quiz, you might need a statement in between those first two statements that says they're isosceles and therefore Fk is equal to Jk.
Yeah.
And that's also a given. So Fk equals to Jk is really more of a property of isosceles. So a rigorous proof might be that. You'd have statement 1, statement 2, and then you'd be able to prove that Fk is equal to Jk by the property of isosceles triangles, and then each of these other statements, 5 more statements after that.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I didn't have quite enough room on my page. I'll try to write smaller next time. You good on this? Can I erase this?
Yeah.
Okay. And let me scroll to the next one so I have a little bit more. And I'll try to write smaller. So, given angle 5 equals angle 6, I'm assuming that's that and that.
Yeah. Yes.
IG is the altitude to that whole triangle.
FH. Yes.
Okay. Which makes this a right angle. Prove that
JH
is isosceles. So we're trying to prove that this side is equal to that side.
Okay.
Okay. So before we start our 2-column proof, it's always a good idea to figure out exactly how you're going to prove it. Okay. Well, what do we have here? We have that angle is equal to that angle. We have that side's equal to itself. We have this side equals to that side. And we have this angle is equal to itself. So it looks like we have what? What kind of triangles? Are they side,
two right triangles.
Side, side, side? Or are they angle, side, angle?
Angle, side, angle.
Yeah, I tell you what, I really like this technique of drawing them separately because a lot of times it allows you to see stuff that you might not normally see.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that side's equal to itself. We know this angle equals this angle, and we know this angle equals this angle. So that looks like angle, side, angle.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention the fact that, oh no, we're trying to prove it's isosceles. So if we can prove that the pink triangle is congruent to the blue triangle, we've proved that this side is equal to that side, which makes it isosceles.
Yeah.
So that's all we need to do. Now, shall we go through the 2-column proof?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Because we don't necessarily need to go through the proof if you understand how we're going to do the proof.
Yeah, I understand it.
Okay. That's okay. Let's go through it anyway.
Okay.
So they say angle 5 equals angle 6, and that IG is altitude of triangle FJH.
Mm-hmm.
So both of those are given. And the first thing that we know is that, let's see, how about GJ equals
Is equal GJ.
what reason?
A reflexive property.
And we know that angle FGJ equals angle, well, equals 90 degrees because it's an altitude.
Mm-hmm.
And then we know that angle GHJ is also 90 degrees. Why?
Because it's an altitude.
Okay. Yeah, or it's a linear pair.
It's the same. Yeah.
Same reason, it's an altitude. Okay. And so we've got so now now we can say the triangles are congruent. In other words, triangle FGJ
is congruent to HGJ.
Yeah, HGJ. Because of angle side angle. And now you can say that FJ is equal to HJ. What's the reason?
Congruent parts of congruent triangles are congruent.
Congruent CPCTC, is that what it is? Congruent parts of congruent triangles are congruent. CPCTC, okay. And because they're congruent,
that means that it's isosceles. That the FJ
so a triangle FJH is isosceles. Definition of isosceles triangle. That should do it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have to say that these two are pretty easy that we just did.
Mm-hmm.
I get an awful lot of geometry students that have a lot of problem with proofs, and I have found that the best way to learn a two-column proof is when they give you problems where one of the columns is filled in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do that.
You get those kind of problems?
Yeah, for review sheets that she hands out.
Because when you have one of the columns filled in, it's pretty easy to figure out the other column.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a great way to learn what's needed in a two-column proof. Whereas when you have to fill in both columns for every single row, that's where it's hard. And that looks like what they're having you do for your two-column proofs. In other words, I don't see any proofs that are half completed that you just need to complete.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's take a look at number 7. Oh, this is not a proof, okay?
No.
Okay, so let's see. AC There's no diagram for number 7, I assume?
No.
Let me draw it. Let me draw a little diagram and then we'll have a look at it. So let's see, if I have a triangle like that, where we'll call that A, B, C. We got AC is the biggest side, BC is the second biggest side, AB is the smallest side. So that's a reasonable drawing. List the 3 angles in order of size from largest to smallest. Okay, this only utilizes one principle in geometry, which is what?
Common sense? I don't know.
Well, not really, but, well, actually, common sense a good one. I've never seen that as an answer on a geometry test, but I like that answer. So the correct answer really would be that the largest angle of a triangle is always opposite the largest side. The smallest angle of a triangle is always opposite the smallest side. And the medium angle, the middle angle of a triangle is always opposite the middle side. So if I have my sides 1, 2, and 3 in order of their size, which I do, then angle B is the biggest. Angle A is the second biggest, and angle C is the third biggest. Merely because of what I said. The biggest angle is opposite. In other words, the order of the angles is the same as the order of the sides in terms of magnitude. Okay. That take care of that problem?
Yes.
Okay, let me just see if I can erase all this writing here. And let's look at number 8. Yeah, it's a little hard to read. This photo was taken with an apple?
Yeah, it's bad.
Maybe it needed to be attached as a large image file or actual size file, or you need to hold the phone a little steadier as you take the picture. Most apples generally produce really good high-res photos, and this is not that high resolution. So I'm guessing that something wasn't done quite right. In the future, you should be able to take pictures and they would come out crystal clear on my end. Okay. So for this problem here, we got time to do this one last problem. So I can see P, Q, and R. What I can't see is what this angle is. What does that angle say?
Which angle?
Angle P.
It says 7x minus 18 in parentheses degrees.
What's the other angle say?
4x degrees.
Okay. And we have given that angle P plus angle R is less than what, 180?
Yeah.
Well, that's by definition because it's a triangle.
Yeah.
PQ is less than QR, so this is a bigger side than that. Write an inequality to describe the restrictions on X. Okay? So what inequality can I write right off the get-go based on the same information that we had in number 7?
Angle P is smaller than angle R.
Which means 7x minus 18 is less than 4x. Now solve that inequality. Solve it just like it was an equation.
Mm-hmm.
So get all your x's on one side, all your numbers on another. What do you end up with?
3x is less than negative 18.
Less than positive 18. I got to move that 18 to the other side.
Yeah. So it would be x is less than 6.
And there's your answer. Write an inequality to describe the restrictions on x. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, Joseph, that's the way an online session works. And I think you're going to agree that it works just exactly the same as if we were sitting next to one another.
Mm-hmm.
And I was writing on a piece of paper instead of writing on my drawing tablet. And that's pretty much the way it works. I guess that I would ask that you try to send a little clearer picture, but as long as I can read it, we can make it out, then we can do the problems.
Yep.
Now, also, I have a recording of this, and let me just check, make sure that I've got your email address. The one you submitted right here, that's what you want me to use?
Yes.
Okay. It takes, half hour or so for me to process this file once it's recorded, and then I will send you a link so that you can watch this session as a YouTube file.
Okay.
Which means you can pause it, rewind it, fast forward it. If there's anything we've gone over you want to review, you'll be able to do that. All of those things. And that's basically how it works. The way I do it is I give you the first half-hour session free, and then I ask you to pay for any future sessions in advance. So let's say that you want to schedule a Sunday session for an hour, then I would ask you to go onto my digital math tutor website and pay for that hour and then schedule it.
Okay.
Okay. You can also schedule half-hour sessions that are only $16 per half hour. But you ask that you pay in advance after the first free session. And that's that. You know how to schedule. Did you go to my algebra to calculus website, or did you go to my digital math tutor?
I went to the one that you sent me in your email with the link.
Probably algebra to calculus. Let me give you a better website to go to use. And the only reason it's better is because it handles the payment a lot better. And that's www.digitalmathtutor. It's also easier to spell than algebra to calculus. Tutor.com. But if you use this website, it makes payment a lot easier. If you already have a PayPal account, it becomes just a two-step process. As opposed to the other website, algebra to calculustutor.com, you can still use PayPal on that, just a little more cumbersome. This is the better website anyway. This is the website. I do about 90% of my tutoring online, Joseph, and so I generally use Digital Math Tutor for most of my students. So it's the website that I keep a little bit more current, a little slicker, a little nicer one. And definitely a step or two shorter to use PayPal.
Okay.
So anyway, thank you. And hopefully we'll be having more sessions. And I'll just look for it. You found out already that you can schedule online, and I get a text whenever somebody has scheduled an appointment, so I'll see it. And the next time we meet is I won't call you. I don't need to. The only thing I need to do is text you the meeting ID number, that 9-digit number. So if you do schedule another session, the beginning of that second session, I'll just text you a 9-digit number. That's all you'll get. Now, at this point, having downloaded the GoToMeeting software, you should have an icon on your desktop that looks a little bit like, see that flower that I'm pointing to?
Yeah, I have it
That's
right
the
there.
GoToMeeting. You should have that icon on your desktop. The next time is all you'll have to do is double click that icon and put in the 9-digit meeting ID number that I give you. It doesn't need to re-download the software. Got any questions, Joseph?
You have my number, right?
I do.
Okay, so I think that's it.
Yeah, that should be it. You're all set to go in terms of scheduling future sessions. And like I said, when I see a future session, I'll be in a tutoring session with you at that time.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Nice meeting you. I'll talk to you next time, Joseph.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, to close out of the GoToMeeting, just hit on the X in the upper right-hand corner. All right. Bye-bye.